This is scenes all around Tallahassee at night, and it's places that people don't get to go and see normally. Like on the tarmac at the airport as they're gassing up the planes, in the kitchens cooking food at a restaurant.
It was just a typical night in Tallahassee. It began the evening of Thursday, February 8th, 2007, and ended the morning of Friday, February 9th. As sunlight faded and darkness covered the Capitol, Tallahassee Magazine sent 7 photographers, some paired with a writer, out in the town to chronicle what happens from dusk till dawn. Each reporting team was given 6 assignments in 2-hour blocks, taking them all over town until the sun came up. More than 5,000 photographs were taken in a 13-hour period. The result was It Happened One Night, an insightful photographic essay published in the May-June 2007 issue of Tallahassee Magazine that allowed readers to see Tallahassee from a surprising perspective. This is the story of the most ambitious feature in Tallahassee Magazine's 29-year history. This is how it happened one night.
We got out to the airport screaming in under time. So I get on my cell phone and call Dallas Tucker, and he gets us into one of those vehicles that they do drive on the flight line. And he's like, oh, I'll take you anywhere you want to go, pretty much. You got backstage passes through the airport, anywhere you guys want to go. And so Nikki was like, get us on the tarmac. Get us out there where planes are flying in, taking off, and all that stuff. And so we got a few good shots of taking off. And then the sun started setting, and with that open field, there's nothing out there. So of course, all we see is these pinks and oranges and great sunset shots, and the planes coming in and taking off. So
I wish I could have gotten closer. Of course, I wish with like my wide angle, I could have been laying on the tarmac, like looking up as it's either coming down or. Of course not. I had to be so far away, so that was kind of a bummer, personally. But it was amazing just to be on the tarmac alone. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Then he got us over to where a plane was actually getting ready to take off. So we got some pictures there, and then we got one where it just landed, so there was a lot of deplaning, getting the luggage off the stuff and everything, like refueling. And
that was probably my personal favorite, just being that close and taking pictures of the lady fueling back up and stuff like that.
And the heads in the little windows looking out. What they're doing.
That was cool. The passengers were totally curious what we were doing.
Open the door and there's the crew, and they're totally posing for pictures.
Oh yeah.
I went over to the Hindu family that was saying their evening prayers. They're doing their prayers in really a closet, except they've got room enough to sit down. And it was a mother and a daughter, room enough to sit down. And their prayers last about 10 minutes, and they do them every day.
The night school began in the classroom, and that was kind of cut and dry, your basic college night class experience with a there was like there was about maybe a dozen or so students in the class.
Only one guy.
And then we were able to arrange getting into some lab time. And that was more interesting. We were able to actually, view the students as they were practicing their clinical skills on these life-size mannequins in this mock-up of a ER, or actually it was more of a hospital type environment. So that was interesting. Each student was doing their own thing, practicing how to attach IVs and resupply IV machines and suture up different types of wounds. And
it was interesting.
Kevin invited us into the kitchen, and we got to see them preparing all sorts of delicacies. We saw some lobsters being whacked and de-shelled, I suppose, and
The fires.
then he decided he was going to offer us a treat. He said, would you like something to munch on? And I said, well, sure, Kevin. And he serves up a plateful, a heaping pile of fried oysters in blue cheese sauce.
Which I'm not a very huge fan.
She doesn't eat oysters.
He did notice that I obviously did not eat fried oysters, so he made the delicious potato chips.
One of the shoots that I did want to do was the tattoo parlor, and so I'd been taken off of that because they looked like they couldn't find one that was open late enough. So we just made a few phone calls and found a place that was open late, and so I was able to shoot that. And when we got there, they didn't have any appointments set up. It's a piercing and tattooing place, and they didn't have any people set up. It's just a kind of a walk-in thing. And so we waited for maybe an hour.
Right now we are waiting for someone to come in and get tattooed. I'm up there talking to a woman into getting a tattoo. Whatever she has, I'm going to love it and say that it's the best tattoo I've ever seen.
And someone finally came in.
What do you want to do? I want to see, get a rosary.
It just took a long time for the tattoo artist to set up and sterilize everything, but the guy who agreed to be photographed, I can't remember what tattoo number it was, but I want to say 14 or 15, and his girlfriend was there, and she was not happy with that he was getting another tattoo, but she was okay with it, and she was looking at all the flash designs, but she was adamant that she was not going to get one herself, and so I actually made friends with them and had a good time with them. They were probably the best people all night.
That's ordinarily a very busy station. They're right there next to the university. They're right there next to downtown. They're right next to the shelter. They said they run a lot of calls out to the shelter, and they were telling us about some of the calls that they go on. And we were like, yes, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be great. And one of the things we did when we got there was we practiced getting into their engine, to the back seat area of their engine that we were going to go out on, and we ran through the procedure of getting in and buckling in, and it's a little more complicated than you think, because you have to
tanks and stuff around us,
and you have to work out those movements to make sure you're going to be doing this more as efficiently as you can, because they're not going to have time to do that for you when they're heading out on a call. The rest of the evening we spent basically eating sandwiches and sitting around the table and jaw-jacking with the firemen. And one of the firefighters showed us around upstairs and showed us around the rest of the facility, basically.
The bunkhouse.
The bunkhouse.
That was interesting.
The sleep center was probably one of the high points of the evening.
It was my favorite.
We met a very lovable 84-year-old patient named Ordell Highsmith, and she was just a riot. We got to see her being prepped for her evening of testing. They test for sleep apnea and restless leg syndrome, all sorts of things.
The atmosphere was really neat. I expected it to be more like a medical center or something like that, but instead it was like your own room. Regular like queen size bed with a little end table and a little chair and a coat rack and
wires and wires
and then a lot of wires on top of this other table. That was the only indication that it was a medical center, but other than that there was a control room too, which was just like five computers and a monitor on top of that one, because each room had video, so they were able to record these people or watch them at the same time and try to focus on what could be wrong with them, so it was really neat.